Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 410 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for tuning in, whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. And I know we have at least one comment already. It's Maudlin who says, in the first comment, happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday indeed. Always nice to see something from my favorite perfume house. Okay. We'll get back to that one in a minute. Rachel says, hello, love a Sunday, love at first scent. Thank you very much. So do I. Woozy is here too, who says, really interested to see if any of these are even remotely worth the price. And then Rachel chips in as well with super curious about these extras. Please keep the comments and the questions coming, regardless of whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording. And yes, this is going to be a little bit of an odd episode of Love at First Scent because I have nothing to show you. Empty space next to me, and I have nothing to smell, but I have smelt the perfumes that we're going to spend a few minutes talking about today. And because so many of you have written or messaged on social media to say that you would like me to cover them in some way, I thought, well, okay, seeing as I have smelt them and seeing as I made some notes while I was smelling them and took some blotters home, I can very, very easily fill about 10 minutes with thoughts on them. But well, you make up your own minds about whether this counts as a full in-depth review. But I thought it would be better to at least do this and open up the discussion rather than do nothing at all. And in the weeks and months to come, I'm sure more and more of you will go to a Guerlain counter and try the scents that we're going to be talking about in a second. Then you will be able to chip in with your thoughts as well. So there's probably nothing, no harm in doing a video like this, even though, as you know, regular viewers will know the normal format is that we actually smell the stuff that we're talking about. Sandra, sure enough, says, looking forward to your reviews of the extraits. Josh says, woohoo, finally caught alive. Well, I'm very, very pleased, but like I said, it's a weird one. By the way, for those of you watching live, when we finish this video, we're going to be coming back with this year's festive list, festive gift recommendations. Liz says, sad to hear these are disappointing. And Sandra says, Mr. P, do you have a cold? Well spotted. Yes, a tiny little bit of a cold, but I'm shaking it off. Probably just as well we're not doing any smelling. Oh, S. Umar says, I've tried them all except the rose. Hard to justify the price, however. I was most surprised by the bergamot, which I thought was the loveliest and most long-lasting. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I would disagree with that. RM says, smelled some of them already. They are just so pricey. Okay, so let's backtrack because a lot of you know what I'm talking about here, but some of you will not. The scents in question, new from Guerlain, I believe they were released, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, hyped quite a bit. They are 6 new extra strength releases. They kind of come under the L'Art La Matiere collection, but they have their own name as well. Guerlain are calling them Les Extraits Signature, so the extra signatures. As I say, there are 6 of them. They come in 50 ml bottles. In the UK, each bottle will set you back £495. Just in case you missed that, I will say that again. Each bottle will set you back £495. So that is nearly £500 for 50 mils of extra. What's Gavin saying? I've Googled. Sorry, extra is not a form for single note-centric perfumes, full stop. That is why I love you folks so much, because that's basically my review right there. But Gavin, if you don't mind, I'll kind of lead up to that. But I'm so pleased that at least one more person agrees with me. And the Guerlain line, at least as far as the website, if the website is to be believed, is that each of the scents, each of these extras, is supposed to represent a facet of the Guerlinade. What is the Guerlinade, Persolaise? I hear 2 of you shouting somewhere across, halfway across the world. Most of you will know what the answer to that is, but the Guerlinade is meant to be this sort of near mythical accord that has been used in every single Guerlain fragrance since day one. And when I say near mythical advisedly, because depending on who you speak to, the Guerlain either is a thing and it does exist, or it was completely made up and is a bit of marketing spiel and it never did exist. Guerlain did release a perfume called Guerlain. What's in it is a matter that maybe is up for debate, and only the gods of Guerlain and only the Guerlain perfumers, would probably really be able to give us a definitive answer. But certainly I would have thought that there would been a few other things in the Guerlain. So this is how it's presented to us: 6 perfumes, 6 extraits, I should say, each one representing a different facet of the Guerlain. And we have a vanilla, which is called Vanille Planifolia. The bergamot is called Bergamote Fantastico. The tonka bean is called Tonka Sarrapia. The jasmine is called Jasmin Grandiflorum. The rose is Rosa Centifolia. And the iris is Iris Pallida. I've got my notes here. That's why I'm kind of looking at them here. Mache, also taking a little bit of my review out of my mouth, thank you very much, says concentration does not directly translate to strength. Absolutely. And so I have smelt them now on 2 separate occasions, all 6 of them. A couple I applied on skin because I couldn't do all 6 on skin. I took blotters away with me. I have to say, I was very, very excited to try these because, I mean, there was no way that I was ever going to buy any of them. But I did think, oh gosh, wouldn't it be wonderful to think that there is this thing out there? If only I could justify spending £500 on a perfume, there would be this rose to end all roses, or a jasmine to end all jasmines, and so on and so forth. So I smelt them, and I was surprised. I was genuinely surprised because they are very, very definitely trying to be single note creations. I mean, okay, they're complex in the sense that the rose is a very, very, very convincing presentation of a rose, and so by its very nature, it has to be complex, and the same could go for the jasmine. But I smelt them and I thought, hang on, this is an extrait, and as Gavin just said, when somebody presents an extrait to me, I think this is going to be the most rarefied form of perfumery, the most sort of exalted, glorious piece of work in terms of composition, in terms of the thought that's gone into it, in terms of making me believe that I am smelling something that I haven't smelt before. And I think I'm justified in thinking along those lines as well when when we're talking about the House of Guerlain, which still has got, thank goodness, as part of its catalogue, some of the most beautiful extraits ever created. Let's just pull one name out of the hat. Let's talk about Shalimar. Shalimar is so much more than just bergamot, and so much more than just vanilla, and so much more than just the leather note. It is a composition. It is an orchestral piece. You could say the same about the extraits for Vol de Nuit and L'Heure Bleue. I mean, just fill in the blank space with your own ones, and a lot of the other ones as well that sadly have been discontinued. I mean, obviously, regular viewers will know how much love I have for Nehema, but these are not trying to be those. These are not trying to be Jiki extrait. They're certainly not trying to be, Après Landais extrait. But I did find myself thinking, okay, so is there a market for people who want to spend nearly £500 to have just a sort of pure jasmine experience, or a pure vanilla experience? I mean, I suppose time will tell if there is a market for such people. But it's interesting that of all the houses, Guerlain have chosen to go down this route with what they're calling extraits. I suppose it kind of fits in with the idea of L'Art La Matiere. Now, those are the perfumes which, at the moment, are eau de parfum, which showcase a particular, each one name checks a material. So this year we had a jasmine, we had a tobacco honey as well, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago on this channel. But that range is called L'Art La Matiere. So it's the materials and the art. And certainly in the best examples of those scents, you get a lot of art, you get a lot of beautiful thought and passion and and ideas, you know, and concepts. Here, it seems to be all about trying to be as faithful as possible to nature. And I kind of thought perfumery had moved on. Sorry, this is getting you know, becoming super geeky. And if this is the very first video you have ever watched on this channel, rest assured, even though we have no issue with being geeky, we don't often end up being as geeky as this, you know. And smelling them, I was thinking lots and lots of things. I was thinking about this narrative of modern perfumery that we're always presented with, that modern perfumery began with the creation of Fougère Royale from Houbigant, because that was when that was the point from which we no longer had to slavishly copy nature. And of course, it was still quite a few years after that that truly abstract conceptual creations started becoming more and more mainstream and more acceptable. But that was the point when we no longer just had to try to copy, you know, a honeysuckle or a sweet pea or a peony or whatever. You could really start playing and creating something that you would never smell in the real world, like, let's say, you know, Chanel No. 5 or Jiki or Vol de Nuit or whatever. This feels like sort of going back. So I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying I don't get it. They're certainly very pretty to smell. I mean, what can I say about some of them? So if we want to be a bit specific about them, so the vanilla, the vanilla is very balsamic, powdery. It completely, you know, avoids any of the sort of smoky, dark facets that you would associate with a truly natural, rich vanilla. It definitely starts going in the direction of, you know, the patisserie and the pastry chefs. The Tonka really did come across as particularly simplistic. It was quite almondy, quite bitter. I should also say, just in the interests of fairness, each one comes with a number. Okay, so the vanilla, the Vanille Planifolia is called 21, and there's a significance to each number. So 21 refers to the fact that the vanilla has to be soaked in alcohol for 21 days in order to form a tincture. Some of the links with the numbers are quite tenuous. You sort of think, okay, well, then you could have just pulled any number out of the hat, couldn't you? The Tonka is 75 because the tree from which they on which the Tonka grows has a coumarin content of 75%. The Jasmine is called number 30. Oh, Rich Mitch, thank you very much. That is very kind. I have to read that comment, though. I feel these releases are a microcosm of what LVMH companies are going for. Simple, cheap, artificially expensive, and geared towards people being able to post pictures of the bottles on social media. You may well be right. Oh, and Gavin says the only number I am hearing is 495. Yeah, I think that's the number. Clearly, that's the number that stuck in my head as well. The Jasmine is number 30 because the jasmine was extracted using a carbon dioxide extraction technique at 30 degrees Celsius. Okay. This particular jasmine is not overly indolic. It's quite grand. It reminded me of, you know, when Dior had Grand Bal in their collection privée. It's the kind of jasmine that we've smelt before several times. The rose is number 1. Rose Centifolia is number 1 because apparently Guerlain have been sourcing rose since day 1. It's harvested in 1 month of every year. No more than 1 day must pass from picking the flower to processing it. Okay, fine. I mean, it was an extremely convincing photo real rose. But as Gavin says, you kind of go, okay, £495 worth of rose from the house where I can still get Nema, or like I keep saying, I don't get it. I don't get it. The bergamot, somebody already mentioned. The bergamot I found interesting. The bergamot is number 11 because bergamot is harvested in the 11th month of each year. So this month, basically. Convincing bergamots are not easy to find, and this one definitely ticks all the right boxes. So it's kind of pine-like, it's very suitably citrusy, you get the feeling of the zest there, it's got that sort of smoky tea-like quality. It was really lovely to smell, but I think there have been very good similar sorts of creations from the Aqua Allegoria, Bergamote Calabria that they did a few years ago was great in that regard. And it does last. You'd kind of think, for goodness sake, for that sort of price, you would expect it to last, but it is still a bergamot, which means that it's going to be pretty fleeting. And then the last one, the one I haven't mentioned yet is the iris. The iris Pallida comes with the number 6 because of the fact that it takes 6 years for the rhizomes to develop their character, the aging and the growing. And the iris is probably the one that is the least Solly note. The iris was the only one that made me think, oh, okay, so they've tried to do something a little bit different here. But I wonder if that's because they were worried, and this is, again, pure conjecture on my part. I wonder if that's because they were worried that just going iris, iris, iris would create something that was just too dry and too cold and too austere and too, iris silver mist. So they've upped it, they've pumped it with musks, and it ends up being quite dark, but maybe also overly synthetic smelling. But so yes, that was the only one that made me think, okay, I feel like I'm getting more than just iris here. But I have to say, not a single one, not a single one made me think, have I got £495 lying around? Obviously not. And they've left me feeling quite perplexed, quite confused. And so, yes, I have somehow managed to talk for 16 minutes and 30 seconds about perfumes that we're not even smelling here, and I need to do a Christmas list in a few minutes. So let's just see what you folks are saying. Aileen on Beauty says, agreed with Rich Mitch. It's a thing to post these X-ray bottles on Instagram at the moment. May well be right. Woozy says, the only number I'll be remembering is 0. The amount Guerlain will be getting from me over this collection. And no, I don't mean I'll be conducting a Perfumes Oceans 11. Olfactive Stories, the Jasmin one also reminded me of Grand Bal. There you go. Rachel says, Mr. P, do they give us any reliable information about how much actual rose material is included? Not that I've had, Rachel, but they say that they're all dosed at 30%, the 30% concentration, as in, the overall composition. Rich Mitch says, I've got a friend who works for Tom Ford, and they say the price increases have killed their sales, and that's across the board. Okay, that may well be right. I don't know. Gavin says the musks in all of them should be Muscone for that price. And Liz says the trouble is that they set a benchmark for the industry. Yes, and that is a problem. But I think, like I said in another video, a lot of brands are really thinking very, very hard about whether they want to go down the route of these crazy price increases or whether they want to actually just, well, I guess think about their clients and think about not alienating their clients. And Ryan says, just found out my rent has been increased by £100 a month. That's a lot. That's a big increase. So maybe perfume expenditure will have to wait. That's a lot of money to have to find in a month. I mean, over the course of a year as well. So yes, hopefully you'll be all right with that, Ryan. We should stop. Thank you very much for watching this rather strange video. I mean, I'm not going to start making a habit of doing reviews of perfumes that aren't actually here. But because there has been so much interest in these, I thought I'd talk about them. And as I say, the video is now here, so anybody can join the debate. And please do let us all know what you think of these very, very, very pricey new releases from Guerlain. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and see you in a few minutes where we'll go all nutcrackery and Christmassy. See you in a bit. Take care now. Bye.